Shack to 7. What's going on out there, Williams?
Williams, you hear me? What's going on there?
What? What is this?
A ship?
That's Russian.
Leviathan.
What?
Leviathan.
Bowman, run a check.
Currently with a Russian fleet in the Baltic Sea.
Apparently horseshit. Currently it's rusted junk and we're looking at it.
It's the captain's log on videotape.
Мой лазер занят.
My infirmary's filled.
Корабельня доктор говорит, что похоже на
The
так.
doctors on board tell me it's like a tropical infection.
Я никогда ничего подобного не встречал.
But it's not like anything I've ever seen before.
Generic alteration.
Genetic.
Whatever. But you think it's restricted to this one crew member?
So far, but
But what? What if it turns out to be nothing?
Willie, please don't go. Please don't.
No, my crew's in jeopardy.
We can't pick you up so soon. There's a hurricane 600 miles off the coast of Cuba.
A hurricane?
No, a delayed 12 hours.
12 hours? What are we gonna do? We can't stay up for 12 hours.
What's going on there?
In March of 1989 saw the release of Leviathan. That year saw 5 other deep-sea related movies: The Abyss, Deep Star 6, The Evil Below, Lords of the Deep, and Endless Descent. Often some years you get 2 movies with similar content, such as Armageddon, Deep Impact, Dante's Peak and Volcano. I'm not entirely sure why 6 similar movies were released that year. It had occurred to me since the discovery of the Titanic in 1985, it may have inspired movie makers into the prospect of deep sea exploration, and of course the technology in the 80s had made it possible to explore at such huge depths. Unfortunately, all the deep sea related movies flopped that year, even James Cameron's The Abyss. Leviathan was directed by George P. Cosmatos, who had success with Rambo First Blood Part 2, but he was nominated for a Razzie for the worst director for his work on that film. The story was produced by David Peoples, who to many was well known for his work on Blade Runner. Some of the designers and crew had previously worked on the Alien films, given that the movie is very much inspired by Alien and takes a few ideas from The Thing. Ron Cobb was the concept artist from Alien, is now the production designer for Leviathan. I think this is the movie's strongest aspect. Filmed at Rome's largest film studio, Leviathan for its underwater scenes uses the dry for wet look, with lighting effects utilised to simulate the ocean depths. There is very little real underwater shots. To me it looked so real you have to thank the talents of the cinematographer Alex Thompson. What makes this film entertaining to watch is its casting. Peter Weller as the geologist, Stephen Beck. Many lads growing up know him as Robocop. He gives a very natural performance and you see him progress throughout the course of the movie as a strong leader. At the beginning he is struggling to take on the managerial role, but by the end he is confidently in charge. Ernie Hudson plays Jones, one of the engineers. Any film becomes instantly cooler when Ernie makes an appearance. Richard Crenna plays the ship's doctor and I think probably provides the best performance in the film. Amanda Pays plays Willie, who some may recognise from the TV show The Flash, which was on in the early 90s. Daniel Stern plays Sixpack, who I guarantee most will remember him from Home Alone. The actor Michael Carmine, who plays Tony, died that year unfortunately. He suffered a heart attack at 30 years old. Meg Foster plays Miss Martin, who is the representative of the evil company. Just like Alien, there is a kind of faceless company that is only concerned about profit, and obviously the crew is expendable. The remaining crew members, Bowman and Cobb, both actors appeared in the Beverly Hills Cop movies. With the story, while working outside their deep sea station in a pressure suit, one of the crew members, Sixpack, discovers a shipwreck. After repeated attempts to call him back, crew member Williams searches for Sixpack and finds him excited over the chance at treasure. The doctor can read Russian and identifies the ship as the Leviathan. The crew salvage and break open a safe from Leviathan, finding records detailing the deaths of several crew members, as well as a video log from the ship's captain. Sixpack also finds a flask of vodka, which he quietly pockets. Bowman figures out Sixpack has hidden the vodka and persuades him to share it. The Doctor and Beck review the captain's video, which describes puzzling medical problems amongst the crew. They also discover that the Leviathan was scuttled. The following morning, Sixpack feels sick, and Doc discovers lesions along his back. He dies a few hours later, but Doc and Beck keep quiet to avoid a panic. Doc begins checking the other crew to confirm no one else is sick, but does not have the chance to examine Bowman. While Beck and Doc confer with Martin on the surface, Bowman also begins to feel ill. She finds Sixpack's corpse, which is mutating and growing. Beck and Doc request emergency evacuation, but Martin reports a severe storm on the surface that will delay the evacuation for 12 hours. Doc finds that Bowman committed suicide, being unable to cope with the idea of dying like Sixpack. Her body is taken to sickbay, where it merges with Sixpack's. They decide to dump both bodies. As they're about to flush the body away, the body bag begins squirming. Believing someone inside may be alive, the crew opens it. The creature inside claws Cobb's chest. Before they can eject it, they realise that Leviathan was experimenting on its unwitting crew with mutagens. The mutagen was mixed with the vodka that the crew and later Sixpack and Bowman drank. The ship was scuttled when the experiment went out of control. A piece of Sixpack's leg was severed when the corpse was ejected. It mutates into a creature and attacks Tony in the kitchen. Jones seals the kitchen's pressure door and goes for help. He asks Cobb to watch the door, but when he goes to find something to defend himself, the creature assimilates Tony and rips its way out the kitchen. It then grows tentacles that attacks the crew. The creature effects were handled by Stan Winston and his team. The creature itself is very hit and miss. In designing the creature of the film, Stan Winston and the director went through a mini library of marine life pictures and medical reference books. They came up with the idea of combining human body parts and elements of deep-sea marine life into an unnatural creature never seen on film before. It does resemble those old monster designs from the old 50s movies, which some people may love, but for a late 80s film, and considering we had Aliens and Predator recently, it does look a bit dated in design. Before the monster appears in full form, they have these smaller creatures which are very effective and are animated extremely well. I think these moments work the best. The director hides a lot of the main full-grown monster and cuts very quickly, making it very difficult to see the whole monster on screen. It looks very limited in its movements, so the design seems a bit cumbersome. The legendary composer Jerry Goldsmith provides another interesting score. He mixed in the sound of whales into the main score, which actually works really well in the context of the story and the film. During the action scenes he used a lot of electronic rhythm tracks. He did often use this sound during the 80s. The cues sound similar to his work a year later in Total Recall. The Untitled music really changes the film's tone though. It sounds very much like a family-friendly adventure theme and seems kind of out of place. It may be something the director wanted, but doesn't really suit the style of the movie. The score was released at the time on CD, featuring 11 tracks and runs at about 40 minutes. No complete score though has been made available since its release. Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert were split on their opinions on Leviathan. Gene wasn't too impressed, but Roger felt the tension worked and it was an effective thriller.
I always love these monster on the loose scenes where it turns out that there are an enormous number of things that can go wrong, break, leak, and spout steam before the whole operation comes to a halt, just like they have a whole built-in system of pipes that can burst. From looking at those scenes, you can see that Leviathan is a combination of Alien and The Thing, crew members and scientists inexorably transformed into monsters, one at a time. And I guess the characters in Leviathan, of course, didn't see those earlier movies because they make exactly the same mistake, even though they know that this creature only attacks people when they're alone. Of course, naturally, they go off alone at exactly the wrong time. Right. They'll do it every time. Leviathan is not in the class of Alien, but it is an effective thriller, and there were some times when it got to me. I was entertained by it. The movie does a good job of creating a believable and authentic-looking undersea station, although the sea monster itself, designed by Stan Winston, is just a recycled version of creatures he's already done, and it's sort of disappointing.
I wasn't particularly captivated by the story because I had obviously seen it before, seen it many times before. I ended up noticing the people. I mean, my mind got distracted, and I started to look at Amanda Pays, who's one of the assistants there. And I spent most of the movie seeing how tall she was, when she's quite short. I was surprised. Second, I saw her walking around with her shoulders like this. It almost seems like she was afraid of how beautiful she is, or didn't want to be seen as how beautiful she really is on screen. And I just watched her. I also watched Peter Weller try and enliven a pretty dead story by throwing off wisecracks. He's a very interesting actor to watch. He's got some of the James Woods life in him. But other than that, I mean, it was just like I was watching two people who I really enjoy trapped in a familiar story.
I enjoy the way what Weller does is always remains extremely cool when another actor would have exploded at some of those moments. But I was not able to detach myself in the way that you did. I did get involved in the fact that they're under all this pressure. You hear the sea station creaking and moaning under the enormous weight of the water. I thought the special effects outside when they're walking down the ocean floor and where they get lost in the jungle of sea worms. I thought that was a very good scene, and I enjoyed stuff like that.
I like the sea worm sequence.
I found it much more memorable than Amanda Paige's shoulders.
No, that's the thing about Amanda Paige. She's quite memorable.
I found Leviathan a few years back when I was hunting down random sci-fi movies from the 80s. On first viewing, I was happily surprised by the quality of the movie in regards to its production and music. It's a very visually appealing film. It has great photography by Alex Thompson, who had previously worked on Legend and later worked on Alien 3. The creature effects are nice, but as I said, the monster lacked any real movement and the director chose to cut away from it, so a lot of the time it hides in the shadows. But the major gripe people have with the film is its ending. It feels incredibly rushed. Once Peter Weller and his crew escape to the surface, they suddenly get attacked by sharks, which then disappear in a space of a minute. Then as they are getting rescued, the monster appears and attacks Ernie Hudson, who is then killed off, and then Peter Weller destroys it with an explosive. Ernie Hudson's character isn't mentioned at all afterwards, when earlier on, if one of the team members died, they'd show the characters being upset. But the movie does have one of the best knockout punches when Peter Weller finally faces up to Meg Foster.
How do you feel?
Better.
Another thing that didn't really impress me was the weapons. The flamethrower, for example, looks way too big, and the design is a bit weak. Actually, most of the weapons look a bit poorly designed in comparison to other monster-related movies. Aside from that, there is a lot to enjoy from Leviathan. It does start off slowly, but once things get going, it becomes an enjoyable thriller. I can easily recommend Leviathan. Yeah, it has a poor ending and some silly moments, but it's still a lot of fun, and the cast really helped make it entertaining and worth watching. It has nothing original in it, but that shouldn't stop you from viewing it. During a time with many movies trying to copy that Alien formula, Leviathan is probably the most successful of the carbon copies. Plus, one thing to remember, it has Peter Weller and Ernie Hudson starring in it, so if that doesn't persuade you to watch it, then I don't know what else will.
Okay, I'm gonna get some help. I'll be right back, okay?
Hey, look at this. I'm fully aware of the finality of my decision. It is my hope that our sacrifice will mean that the human race will never know this awful mutation.
Our death warrant.
Thank goodness you're still alive.
Well, where you been? Hey, man, you better get your ass out here right now and get us. You hear me? Right now!
Please, Mr. Jones, calm down. We haven't deserted you. Naturally, after we received Dr. Thompson's message, we were concerned, but we never would have deserted.
When are you coming?
You said 12 hours, remember?
Well, that's the bad news. The hurricane has turned your way.
When are you coming?
Hopefully within the next 48 hours.
48 hours?
I realize you must have gone through hell.
Gone? Bitch, we still here!
Emergency warning.
Doc. What? I just saw Doc. Oh, Jones. Let's get out of here. Come on.